G'day, I'm Author NZ. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, made a bit of a balls up, as we say down here in New Zealand, and on the weekend I loaded up some 9mm rounds and I went out to the range and I tried a few of them out, and the second one went right, so I had to clear the 9mm projectile out of my barrel, and I didn't have anything at the range to do it, so I had to bring it home to do it. And I found that of the 100 9mm rounds that I had loaded, at least 50% of them weren't any good. So this video is going to be, unfortunately, about bullet pulling. I've already done about half of them. I've pulled about 50, and what I've been doing is just collecting the powder in here, collecting the brass and the bullets in here, and I'm going to do the next 50 with my Frankfurt Arsenal bullet puller. And yeah, so tonight's video is going to be a little bit of a demonstration on how to pull apart bullets that you've made that didn't quite work. Probably about half of the ones that I've pulled apart had very little powder in them, so I'm not sure what was going on there. I'm pretty sure the press is working well. Whether I had the hopper turned off, or whether there was a blockage in the hopper or something like that, I don't know yet, so I'm going to have to go through the press, figure that out. But firstly, I'm going to pull the rest of these bullets apart. I'll do a little demo now on how that's done. I'll change the camera angle so you'll be able to see what I'm doing, and then I'm going to reload them one by one in the press. And the reason I'm going to do them one by one is I don't want to decap them, so I'm going to have to put each case in singly, take it to the top of the ram, bring it back down to send it to the next station, recharge it, and I've learned a couple of important tips, so they're going to be part of the video. Alright, so I'm going to change the camera around a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Thanks for coming back to my YouTube channel, and I'll be right back with you in a moment. Okay, now I can see you but you can't see me, that's cool. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to demonstrate the bullet puller, how it works. There are different collets that come with it. This one is the one that's suitable for 9mm. So you just put the collet around the cartridge, drop it into the top of the hammer like that, and put the top on. It's called an inertia puller, which means it uses the inertia of the bullet moving to remove it from the case, right? So all I do is smack it on the ground a couple of times, normally 2 or 3 hits, and the bullet will pop out of the case. So this is what I do. There you go, you can hear it's come out. I'll pull it out of the puller. Case is now empty. I'll drop the case into there, and then I'm just using another container here to catch the powder, if there's any in there. I'll grab the bullet, put that in there, and yeah, there was a charge. That's probably the correct charge. But I'm going to pull them all apart anyway because I don't trust them. It's not worth blowing the gun up, it's not worth losing your hand, it's not worth having to buy a barrel. You know, for me to replace the barrel of my Tanfoglio would cost me just as much as I paid for the gun, so it's not worth doing it. So, good-o, I've got another 49 to do. Once I've pulled them all apart, we'll come back and I'll reload them all individually on the press, and we'll talk about the 2 big lessons that I learnt in the process, which are check every case that's got a powder charge in it. With a 9mm they're quite small, so you can generally tell if there's enough powder in there or if they're short, and that one had powder in it. And then I'm going to show you a little trick that I've come up with to monitor the powder usage in the hopper. Alright, so once I've pulled these apart, we'll be back to reloading. Rightio, so welcome back. That is what 100 pulled 9mm rounds looks like. So I'm going to load these back up one at a time. Now, one of the things that I've learnt to do here, and this is something that I've come across myself, this here is a rubber band, and it's a little bit hard because my powder hopper is a bit old. These presses are probably about 6 or 7 years old, right? They were given to me, so I'm only learning how to use them, and I'm coming up with a few little tricks, like I've mentioned, the pipe cleaners and that. What I've done here is I've put a rubber band around where the level of the powder is, so you can't actually see it because it's a little bit faded, but the rubber band will tell me after I've done sort of 20 odd rounds whether the powder's moving. So hopefully I won't load up 100 rounds without putting any powder in them. So I've pulled it out, I've pulled the dies apart, I've reset the bullet seating die, I've reset the decapping die, and I've reset the tapered powder through expanding die. Just following the instructions from Lee on YouTube. And now I'm going to go ahead and load these up one at a time. I'm just going to put them in this station here, then move the press to the top. I'll seat the camera back down so that I can show it a little bit better. Turn the light on. You can move the stations around like that with the press up a little bit. Okay. So we'll put that round under the powder die, and you can see it through there. Lift it up, charge it, and it'll bring it around to here. I'll just lift it up a bit, and then I can grab it, pull it out, and I'm going to check a few of these. Now, I've already done a few, and it's throwing 3.5 grains every time. Zero the scale. Okay, 3.5 grains, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so one more time, I've got that case under the powder through expanding die. We'll lift the press up, we'll charge it. Here's the other thing that I've learnt to do. When I get to there, before I put the bullet in, I'm going to check each one. Okay, so you can see in there, it's a little bit hard to see, but there is powder in there. With a 9mm, it would be pretty hard to get it wrong. If there was a double charge, it would be overflowing, and if there was no powder, obviously you'd see it. So I'll pull this one out and I'll weigh it again, but I'm going to physically check each one before I put the bullet on. And I'm using 124 grain copper coated bullets for these. So I'll pull this one out again, check it. Okay, so that's 0. I pop that in there, and that's 3.5. Okay, so it's throwing 3.5 really regularly, so I'm pretty happy with that. Right, so this is what I've learnt basically. You know, you've got to be really careful about your powder charges. I'm going to do these one at a time just to make sure that they're all right. I'm sure once I get a little bit more confidence in the press, I'll be happy to go a little bit more automated. I'll put a light up here so I can see in each case, right, so I can see that it's charged. Put the bullet in and seat the bullet. Right, so I'm going to load these one at a time just to make sure they are all right. It took me about as long to pull them apart as it did to load them up in the first place, so it is a bit of a waste of time, but I just didn't have the confidence to use them the way that they were. It's not worth risking an injury, it's not worth risking your firearm. I would be, you know, I'm going to be much happier pulling these apart and reloading them than I would have been trying to shoot them. Okay, so the two things to watch are that each charge, you know, does go in. And this little rubber band that I've put up here is going to help me monitor the powder use. You know, I'm going to know after I've done 20 rounds, if it hasn't gone down at all, I'm knowing something's wrong. So that's going to help me be a little bit safer. Hopefully it won't take me too long to put these all back together. I'm sure it won't. And That's a good round. Alright, so I'm Author NZ. Thanks for coming back to my YouTube channel. We hope to see you again. Cheers.